sincere thanks for allowing Vertical to present at this esteemed conference. This is our disclosure and forward-looking statements. So my remit today is to talk to you a little bit about RVL-1201, our proprietary compound, a little bit about blepharoptosis and the results of our phase 3 clinical development program. I also have a second remit to try to complete before this gentleman comes on stage, and maybe before the rolling power outages. So what is blepharoptosis? In essence, this is simply put drooping of the eyelid, lower lid lag, an abnormal lower lying upper eyelid margin with the eye in primary gaze. Seemingly benign condition, however, it affects millions in the US and worldwide. Untreated patients with blepharoptosis have significant functional impacts in their peripheral visual field loss and with appearance. We believe that RVL-1201, if approved, will be the first medical therapy or medical treatment for this condition. We believe there is significant unmet need for a non-surgical treatment option for patients with acquired blepharoptosis. The mainstay or standard of care currently is surgical, a variety of different surgical techniques. Acquired blepharoptosis is commonly associated with aging. As such, we feel that there's significant medical need and a significant commercial opportunity. The few patients who are treated with surgery, represent less than 3% of the total blepharoptosis population in the US. What is RVL-1201? Essentially, simply put, it's oxymetazoline hydrochloride in a 0.1% solution. It's formulated with methyl cellulose. It's applied topically to both eyes, and in essence, stimulates Mueller's muscle in the back of the eyelid, the upper eyelid, to contract, thereby raising the eyelid marginally. Again, one drop is administered to both eyes on a daily basis. We've completed phase 3 trials, 3 phase 3 trials, 2 pivotal efficacy trials denoted there in light blue, the 201 and 202 studies, and a 203 study, which was a 12-week long-term extension study. The 2 pivotal efficacy trials were 6 weeks in duration. They were randomized, double-masked, and vehicle-controlled. In terms of assessing efficacy in these trials, we utilized 2 endpoints. The primary efficacy endpoint was a customized visual field test, the so-called LPFT, which has a somewhat higher sensitivity than the Humphrey visual field test. It's denoted there below. We can utilize a Humphrey visual field analyzer. The grid there denotes the broadened or larger superior visual field that was assessed in the clinical trials. In order to enter the clinical trials, patients must have had some sort of functional deficit. They could not see at least 8 points in the upper 2 lines of that visual grid. The secondary efficacy endpoint was the MRD1 assessment, the marginal reflex distance, which simply put is the distance from the central pupillary light reflex to the upper eyelid margin. Normal patients have an MRD1 of about 4 to 5 millimeters. Patients in this study actually were quite moderate to severe, had moderate to severe ptosis and had a mean MRD1 of approximately 1 to 1.5 millimeters. So this is where the rubber hits the road. This is our primary efficacy endpoint data. Improvement on the LPFT for the combined studies, the 2 combined efficacy studies. On the y-axis there, we have the mean change from baseline in points seen in that visual field analysis. On the x-axis, the 2 time points that were assessed. Day 1 at 6 hours post eye drop, and day 14, 2 hours post installation. And as you can see, in green we have RVL-1201. In purple we have vehicle, and a quite robust response, statistically significant, down to 4 decibel points. This is recapitulated with the secondary efficacy endpoint, the MRD1. The y-axis, however, here is the mean change from baseline in MRD1 in millimeters, And as you can see, again, the 2 time points assessed relative to vehicle RVL-1201 promulgates a much greater response. This is an important slide because it truly demonstrates that the onset of action is quite quick. So we have all of the time points assessed for MRD1. Again, we have on the y-axis the MRD1 in millimeters. On the x-axis, all of the time points that were assessed, day 1 through day 42 in the 2 efficacy studies. So relative to placebo, as you can see, the onset, the effect is as early as 5 minutes, which was quite unexpected, and the effect is maintained through day 42 with daily usage. The next 2 slides are really what we as a company are truly excited about because it really marries the functional component with the objective component of the efficacy endpoints. These are patients from the clinical trials on the left before installation of dose and on the right post-dose. And the patient on the upper 2 shown on the top is 43 years old, and this is 2 hours after dosing, and a 73-year-old woman 6 hours after dosing. So clearly you can see a robust effect with RVL-1201. I might also add that the LPFT scoring in these patients was also statistically significant. Same applies here. The gentleman on the left with the left lid lag, significant improvement on the right after dosing. Safety and tolerability was remarkably benign. In terms of treatment-emergent adverse events, we saw about a 30% TEA rate for both vehicle and RVL-1201. Tolerability, more than 92% of subjects in the long-term extension study experienced no discomfort. Oh, a different man, you tricked me. In terms of conclusions, hopefully I've been able to demonstrate that there's significant unmet need for this clinical indication. We've had replicative studies that clearly demonstrate efficacy and safety, and we feel as a company that this medication, RVL-1201, oxymetazoline 0.1%, will be transformative for this patient population. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, David. Thank you.